Hello everyone and welcome to Rudy's Retro Intel. On today's show we'll be looking at some tools that I use to do vintage and retro computer repairs. So let's peek inside and poke around. So as you can see here, I have a bunch of tools that I'm using. These are basic tools that you should have for doing any kind of technology or electronic repairs. And I'm going to quickly go through some of them. Here we have a meter that is used for checking capacitance. I have a multimeter here. Let's see if that's pulling off the camera. This is a generic multimeter. I'm using wire strippers. You can use any kind of wire strippers or a knife, but these are very good. I have a, let's see if it's showing up. Yes, these are magnifying glasses for, getting close up into circuit boards. We have needle nose pliers, some other, cutters. We have pliers and another pair of pliers. Screwdrivers. I call it a chip puller. It's just a screwdriver with a point and it's got a bend in it so you can get under the chips to lift. Here's a flat screwdriver. It's good for pulling out little types of screws, and it's also really good for pulling out ICs that you want to get out of the board. I have a small knife here and some tweezers. I have a larger pair, and I have, let's see if this is showing up, a larger pair and a more fine needle nose repair for doing surface mount installations. I also have some picks. These are great. These you can use to get inside the board if you want to, look at a board and you want to clear out something inside. Is it showing up here? Let's see. If you want to clear out a hole, you can just, use this. If you want to clean it to scrape something off the board, these are good. I've got these from my dentist. These are picks that they use to clean your teeth and do whatever. And I asked my dentist, do you have any old ones that you're not using or you're going to be throwing out? So he gave me these three, so got them for free. If you're looking for a pair, you can probably find them on the net, or you just ask your dentist, see if they have any old ones that they want to give up. Next, I have an eraser. This is a pen eraser. It's actually a rubber pencil eraser, but it's hard. And you can use the clean edge connector. So if you have a board and you want to clean off the edges, you can just use that to wipe them down and clean them up nice. Also, I have a pen. This is a an adjustable cleaner. It is a what's it called? Oh, this is a fiberglass pen that again you can use to grab a board and clean off the connector, the edge connectors on that. Or ICs, you can grab it and just clean the edge, the legs of an IC. This is a neat little tool. I got this many years ago. I'm not sure where. Let's see if it's showing up. Yeah, it just grabs components. So if you have a screw that's fallen into something, or you want to grab a wire, or whatever, you can use that tool. This is a leg straightener. You put an IC inside. When you buy brand new ICs, the legs are kind of bent out a bit. And so what this does is you just put the IC, you squish it a couple of times, and it makes the legs nice and straight to fit in the sockets. The back side has, let's see here, the back of this has a section for larger ICs, and this other side here is for smaller ICs. So for example, if you have a 74 LS04, you can pop that in here, or memory, you can squish that to make the legs. This one's good for, this side is good for EPROMs or other large chips. Here's the old-fashioned type of IC puller. This just clips on. You just grab it by the sides of the IC and you lift up. And this is a more modern replacement. This you lift up and it grabs the sides of the IC and you just lift and you pull them out of the case. This unit here, I'm not sure what it's called. Looks like an egg beater, but it's not. It is for going over the keys on a keyboard, and you can just put on and pop the keys out without having to bend them with a screwdriver and possibly breaking the stem. Another great tool. Also, you want some solder. I use the solder. It's 0.8 millimeter, it has a 40, was it a 2040 or 60/40? So it's 60% of it is the flux, and then 40% of it is flux, and the rest is the solder itself. You want to get some solder wick, so this you can just place on the board and remove the solder easily. If you don't have a pump, I have a pump, or a lot of people call it a moo gun. You pop the gun, you pull the trigger, and it goes moo, and it sucks up the solder. It heats up and sucks up the solder. And finally, or second last, is deoxit. I use this to clean out sockets or anything on the board that needs to be cleaned because the conduction isn't very good. You can use any kind of component cleaner. I like the deoxit. This is deoxit D5. This works really well. And then a final thing, which is a very simple thing, is a notepad and a pen to write down notes or diagrams or whatever you're working on, so you want to keep track of certain things. Also, this is great, so if you're working on something and you're going to come back to it later, you can actually just peel this off and stick it on the unit so you know where you've left off. And one last thing is you're going to want schematics. So here I have some schematics I've printed out. This is for the ZX Spectrum issue 6A board. So you want to use schematics to help you diagnose problems. Next one here, this is a Apple II Plus. Nice thing with this one, it actually gives you the waveforms. When you're plugging your oscilloscope, you can actually see what should be going on. This one is for the Universal board on a Commodore PET. And then I also like to print out, or you can have on the screen, some ICs that you're going to be working on with their pinouts, showing you exactly where ground is, which is ground, and VCC, which is your voltage. In some cases you use +5, or you might use 12 volts, -5, -12, depending on the IC. I don't know. So that's basically it for the basic tools. Now let's take a look at other tools that I use for doing diagnostics. So here are the next set of tools that I use for my vintage computer repairs. Let's start off with this one. This is a very good tool. This is the is it coming up there? Yeah, the TL8662 Plus. It's a universal programmer, and you plug it into your PC, you run the software, and it allows you to program EPROMs and read EPROMs. The cool thing about this is that you can actually plug in chips in here. So for example, you have a 74 LS138 or 139, whatever, 244 LS204, whatever. You can actually plug it in here, and the software allows you to use this to test the ICs. So it's an excellent tool. So even if you don't do EPROM programming, it's really good tool to have to check ICs. The next component unit I have is this little board I got. Where is this? I don't know, I found this somewhere on the net, and let's see if it's showing up here better. What it is, it's a RAM tester. It tests 4116 and 4164 RAM. You just basically pop the RAM in, hit the little toggle for the ZIF socket, and then you push the button to start, and it will give you light indicators saying that it's good or it's bad. So very quick, very easy. Really good unit to have for testing memory. Another unit I use is this thing. This is called the the Chip Tester Pro, and this is a company called Backbit. You can go to backbit.io, I believe, or .com. And what you do is you plug in your IC in here, and you run wires depending on what it says on the screen to do, and it will then check your EPROMs and chips and PALs. There's a whole list of stuff. This does a lot of the ICs that this one does, but this also can do check EPROMs. For example, it can check the PLA for Commodore 64. You can check certain ROMs. You can check CPUs like 6502. You popped it in and do a test. There's also an adapter. Let me see if I can find that. I put everything in bags, so I make sure everything's labeled. Yeah. There's another adapter that I purchased. This is the BackBit 4116 DRAM adapter, and what this does is you pull it out and you pop it into the back bit, and then you pull the lever, and then you can actually put your RAM in here, your 4116 DRAM on here, and test it. So you can use this unit for many things. Excellent tool. I highly recommend getting this one, and getting the RAM, additional 4116 RAM tester in case if you're testing the RAM. So, oops, let's put that back in there, and that goes back in here. All right, the next thing here on the bench is this is a multi-function tester. It's a unit. There's no markings on here as to who makes it. It's like a no-name brand. And what you do is you put your components, you turn it on, you put your components inside, and then you can, let's see if that's showing up, and then you can run it and test your components by hitting the button here, and it will explain where to put parts. You can just do a test, for example. You can test diodes, you can test transistors, resistors, and capacitors too. It's a really nice unit. Excellent, and they're not super expensive. These things, these are great. The next thing, second last thing on the bench is this. This is a small and portable oscilloscope. I have a larger one on my bench that I use also. It's the Handtech DSO 5102P. Not an expensive unit. This is not that expensive either, and you can use this to probe your circuits. The unit here comes with this cable. Let me see if it's showing up. You can actually use this to grab the leg of an IC or whatever you want to grab. You can also pop this out. Maybe not this one. My other probe has it. Let me see. The probe that I got with the Handtech is actually nicer. It does the same thing. You can actually, grab a leg. You can grab a leg of something, an IC or resistor, whatever, and this one pops off too. So you can actually just use it to touch the leg of the IC or component you're looking at. But the mini one here is actually quite nice in the sense it's small, it's portable, and it does a great job of displaying what you want to see. If you'd like to see a video on just the oscilloscopes, let me know in the comments, and I can do one based on this unit and my main bigger unit. So now, with that being, one more thing. I almost forgot. This is a temperature sensor. I know you can get cameras that have the infrared on it, but they're expensive, and I didn't buy one. Let's see if this one's actually turning on. This one, the battery's dead. Of course, I want to do a video on it, and the battery's dead. But basically, you point this to something, you hit the button, and it tells you the temperature on here. You can do it in Fahrenheit or Celsius, and you can move it from IC to IC to see the temperature of what you're looking at. Now, these aren't expensive. I think I paid $40 Canadian for this. A lot cheaper than buying the unit which plugs into your camera or a special camera that shows all the different temperatures. The infrared camera is great. I wish I could get one. I can't afford it right now, but if you don't have one, this one's really good. You can also just touch the ICs, but this will give you an actual proper reading of the temperature. So that being said, let's move on to a few more things. If you're doing Commodore 64 repairs, here are a couple of things that you'll want to get. I have this dual diagnostics cartridge, depending on the switch setting, which this one needs to be replaced. You can have the dead test or the C64 doctor, and basically you plug this into the back of the port on the 64. This one, it goes into the serial port. This one goes into the user port. This is the joystick connector, and this is for the keyboard. And neat thing with, and this one is for the serial port. The neat thing with this is that there's no cables required to run for the harnesses and all that. I got this on eBay from a guy in Italy, and I'm not sure if he's still selling them, but it's something to look out for. There's no name on here. It just says 64 RAM system, blah blah blah, tester. It doesn't say, but it's a diagnostics cartridge. Any cartridge will work. You can there's all kinds of them out there you can use to test once your computer's up and running, or to help diagnose and find out what's going on. I'm not getting a picture, so am I getting a picture when I plug this in? Is the memory, they're getting flashes to see is there bad memory. And I also made this is a little is this basically an LED with a connector on the end, and what this does is just plugs onto the board, so when it's turned on I know that it's on. The light shows up, so I'm not unplugging, I'm not removing chips or inserting chips while the board is still on. You want to make sure that it's powered off. So this is a quick little indicator. I just pop it on and see if the board is on. Once I'm done, everything's good and the computer looks like it's working, I plug in a cartridge because I want to make sure that the ports for something like a game. This is Kickman. This is like a balloon game. The guy goes back and forth on a unicycle, and you have to kick the balloons up in the air, keep them off the ground. It's just a quick test to make sure. You can use any game, but I like to put in a cartridge. And the reason I'm doing that is because I found in the past that the machine worked fine, passed all the tests, but when you put in a game, it didn't work. And it was a bad PLA, and the PLA chip was just very strange that everything worked except a game. So I always make sure I plug in a game of some kind. In this case, it's Kickman. It's the only cartridge I have right now, so I plug this in to make sure that it's working. Also, I use another cartridge, so if I don't want to set this up, I have another cartridge. This one is called the back bit. Let's see if it's showing up in the camera. This is the back bit cartridge. It's quite nice. It's got a little SD card you pop in here, and you can actually run the diagnostic software from here. You can run any game or application. You can pop it on here. You can use it to copy files, fast copy files from a floppy drive. You want to make an image of it, or you want to write an image to it. This is really good. I know a lot of people are, they say, hey, you got to get the Kung Fu Flash or the Easy Flash, or there's some other ones. I really like this one. It's got the reset button on the back. You should check it out. There, go to the Backbit site. This is not a sponsored video. I'm just showing the tools that I use and I like. So check out the Backbit. It's really, really good. I find it's probably, to me, it's the best cartridge out there. But if you have ones that you think is better, take a look at the specs on this one and then compare and let me know what you think in the comments. So that's it for the Commodore 64. Let's move over to the VIC-20. So for the VIC-20, I use this diagnostics cartridge. This is the VIC-20 Super Expansion Unit. Is this the right one? I believe so. This has the EEPROM for the diagnostics. There's a connector that goes onto the keyboard connector of the unit. This plugs back into the user port. There's a connector for the serial port, the game port, and then you run the diagnostics and it does its thing. Also, I like to use this cartridge. This is the Penultimate Plus cartridge. This is from the Future Was 8-Bit. Again, not sponsored video. I purchased this myself. The neat thing with this cartridge is that you plug it in, and you just plug this cartridge in. You hold this button, you hold the button here on the right down, and then you power on the VIC-20 and you hold the button down for about 10 seconds and you let go, and it will then pop into a diagnostics mode, and it runs a diagnostics on your screen. It's not as comprehensive as the Commodore 64 one we saw in the bit and a while ago, but this one is a great test. Test your memory, your ROMs, and basic functions on that. The nice thing with this cartridge is that if you're not testing it, you can actually just plug it in. You can get additional memory. There's different configurations for memory for your VIC-20. There's a whole bunch of games on here. There's I think there's a terminal program on. There's all kinds of interesting things on this cartridge. I believe there's a new cartridge. I think it's called the Penultimate Plus 2. Correct me if I'm wrong. Just check out their site. They have a new cartridge. It's got even more games and more cool stuff. So this is great for doing diagnostics, but it's also great for using when you're, just to play around on your computer. So that's basically it. This configuration connection, again, is just to test all the ports and make sure everything's working fine on your computer, and you can go from there. So let's move on to our next one. Okay, our next set of tools are for the Commodore PET. Now, this is could be the 2001 series, the 4000 series, the etc., the Super PET, etc., etc. Now, I'm not sure if this works on the CBM machines are found in Europe. I don't have one. I've never played one and tested them, but with the ones I have, these are the things that I use. So let's start off with this one here. This one, again, this is from The Future Was 8-Bit. This is a diagnostics board. You basically pull out the CPU, you pop this inside, and depending on the settings for different types of PET, it runs an onboard diagnostics. So you can see on the screen, it just boots up into the diagnostics and runs. Now, if you're looking at one, they don't sell them anymore. You can purchase the one that has the ROM and RAM replacement. However, it's expensive. It's good, but I would rather buy this. And this is the Romulator. The site is bitfixer.com. Excellent tool. This basically, you pull out the CP, the 6502 out of the PET, and you pop it into here, and then this plugs in, and depending on the configurations, you will boot up into different modes. You can have memory, different memory. You can have different type basic. You can have it use all the ROMs on and the RAM on this unit, or only the RAM, or only the ROMs, or bypass everything. The neat thing is that you can get an adapter with this, and this plugs into here. And what this does is it provides a Wi-Fi connection from your unit to your computer. So from there you can again go into a page which connects to here, and then you can halt the CPU, read the contents of memory, and see what's going on, see if there's any corruption or whatever. You can even make changes and write it back. And the neat thing is you can actually then view the screen booting up on your web page. So it's a great option. If you're looking at buying a diagnostics tool, I'd highly recommend the Romulator from bitfixer.com. Again, this is a unit that I've purchased. I've worked with it on the Commodore PET, the VIC-20, and the Apple II Plus, because it also has a 6502, and I believe he also has one for the Z80 or Z80, depending where you live and how you pronounce it, a unit for that too. So check that out. The next thing here is not a diagnostics unit, but it is, in the sense that it allows us to plug in to the IEEE port. This is the SD to PET from The Future Was 8-Bit. This great tool plugs in the back, and you can read your programs from the card here. Now, bitfixer.com also sells a unit similar to this, and this is the PET Disc Max version 2.0. I highly recommend this one over this one because, I mean, this is great, but this is way cheaper. And the nice thing about this is that it has a pass-through. So for example, if I want to plug something else in the back, I could just plug it in the back of the unit. I have a 2040 floppy drive, so I can actually plug that in the back of this unit while this is plugged into the PET. See, it's very slim. It just pops onto the back, and then from there, I can use the floppy drive as a device. Let's say 10. and then I can copy files to and from the floppy disk to the SD card, which is on here, or I can copy it onto that. So this is a great unit. It's, I think it was $30 or $40, I can't remember, US. And this one has a cable which then runs inside your computer to get the 5 volts. But what I've done is I've taken that connector that I have and I just connect this little adapter onto there, like that, and then I just plug this into the tape port, and that way I'm getting power for the PET Disc Max device. It's great, highly recommend getting it. The other one thing I highly recommend, which is kind of biased because I made it, this is the Commodore PET companion board. This plugs into your user port. Usually you plug in the back. It's got some standoff so it sits nice and level. It grabs power from the tape port, just like like on the other unit here. And then from here you can get external video, audio, and you can also have in here a RGB HDMI adapter, which then you can plug into your HDMI monitor and get a nice, excellent video of it. The unit, like I said, it's great because when I'm working on a PET, I can actually take the board out of the PET and put it outside the case, and I can run the power under the lip of the PET. When the top closes, there's a lip all around it, so you can actually pass the wires through that and have the board sitting flat on your desk. And then I would take these off and then just plug it into the side. Now when I boot up, I can see, okay, am I getting video? If I am, then I know that the board is good, but maybe the problem is with the monitor. Maybe if I'm not getting any video, maybe it's the monitor that's having an issue, or maybe it's the board. Well, with this I can tell it's the board or not. So if I'm still not getting video, that means that there's a problem on the motherboard. However, there could also be a problem with the monitor itself, or maybe it's fine. But this helps to eliminate that. And then once you're done, you can leave this plugged in and plug in external monitor, or just have external sound to play games on your PET. So that's it for the PET side. Let's continue on to the next one. Now we move on to the Atari. This is an adapter for diagnostics. This is for the 2600. You plug it into the slot, and it's made by pixelpass.com. So visit their site. That just plugs into your 2600 cartridge, and it gives you diagnostics, basic diagnostics on your unit. This other one here is for the XL and XE, Atari computers. So this is not for the 2600, but for the computers themselves. So you plug this in. This is called sys-check version 2.2 XL/XE. Again, it's a diagnostics board. You just pop it into your unit and you go. Now on the Atari units, there's also a built-in diagnostics. If you're before you boot it up or turn it on, press hold the options button and then power it on, and a self-test does come in. And it's very similar to the Apple IIe, where you can unplug the keyboard or do a key combination stroke, and it turns on the internal diagnostics, and you go from there. So that's what I have for the Atari. I don't have a lot. I only have one. I have a 2600 and a 600 XL, so I haven't done a lot of repairs on the Ataris, but I hope to in the future, so you'll see more videos on that. Now, with that being said, let's move on to the next one. So for the next computer, we're looking at the ZX Spectrum. So it's the ZX Spectrum 1648 and the Spectrum Plus. So I have several units that I've purchased here. We'll start from the cheapest option to the most expensive. So the cheapest one is to make yourself a ROM. Let's see if it's showing up. This is basically a diagnostics ROM. You pull out the ROM on the unit, make some mods, and then pop this in, and then you have a diagnostics for your unit. This is great, although it requires some modification to the unit. Next one, this is another one. This is a Spectrum Diagnostics cartridge. I can't remember where this is from myretrostore.co.uk. Again, basic diagnostics with some lights here indicating the process of the diagnostics. The next one, this is the Detonator Mini. This is a ZX or ZX, depending on who you're talking to. Detonator Mini 2.1. This plugs in the back. It's got some built-in programs, although the one I got came with Spanish games. I'm not sure why there's no English on there. It's got a joystick port. The nice thing about this unit is when you plug it in, you have the pass-through, so you can plug additional cards into the diagnostics. Now the best one, I think, for myself, again, everyone's going to have opinions on this, but this is my opinion on what I think is best. This one here, this is the ZX Spectrum Diagnostics board, version 2.17. You can get this at Byte Delight. Excellent unit. It tests everything you can think of. Now, what I've done on mine is I've bent the legs of the resistors. So let me see if I can show you that a bit better on the camera. So you see how they're bent? Well, the reason why I bend them like that is that so that I can take my logic probe, my probe from my oscilloscope and plug it in and actually see. So I'm not just seeing the lights. I can actually get in there and monitor the signal to see, is it a nice clean signal, or is it dirty, or what's going on? Is it a nice square wave? Is it or sine wave, whatever? This also gives you the readings for the +5, -5, +9, and +12 volts. Great unit. Again, just plug it in the back and turn on your ZX Spectrum and off you go. So let's move on to the next things. The next diagnostics board, actually this is more of like a monitoring / diagnostics board, is this unit I've made specifically for the NABU computer. If you're not sure what the NABU computer is, you can just check my previous videos. It's a Canadian-based company that made computers back in the day. Really cool stuff. So I built this board. It provides signals for the data lines, the address lines, and some of the CPU lines. And this just plugs into the slot. You can put a pass-through cable to plug into something else. You can have this in the middle of your floppy drive and your computer, so you can actually view what's going on. Again, the legs of the resistors are bent in such a way so that they're exposed, so I can get my logic probe in there to see what's going on. And it has a little a diagram here with what the main legend of all the LEDs and what they are. And also you can from here you can measure your +5, +12, and -12 voltages to make sure that your power supply is putting out the proper power. And then you also have here for checking the clock signal of the unit. So this is a little board. It's available at Arcade Shopper, so you can check them out. Visit my GitHub for more information on this. And with that being said, let's move on to the next one. So this board here is a little tiny board I just purchased. I just got it a couple of days ago. It's a diagnostics cartridge board. It plugs into your DOS based computers, XT type computers. You plug it in and it gives you the postcodes and tells you what's going on the computer. I haven't tested this one out yet. I'll be testing one in a future video, and we'll see how this works. But it's a very inexpensive tool, and if you're doing a lot of work on, like, the Intel 8088, 86, 286, 386, these are great little boards to have to plug in to give you an indication of what's going on with the board to make sure it's working properly. And so that's what I have, and that will be coming in another video. So now let's move on to another diagnostics. So this is kind of like a diagnostics tool. This is a board I've developed. It's a generic / universal video output board. I did a video on it with the KAYPRO computer, although this can work on really any computer. And what it allows you to do is you can plug in signals from your motherboard into this one and get RGB to HDMI out. So if you have an adapter, you can plug it in here, or you can get composite out directly from here. I've made a second board which is just for RGB to HDMI. So again, you can plug in your signals, your video, ground video, horizontal sync, vertical sync from your board into this unit, and then you have a port that you can plug in your RGB to HDMI adapter. Now, this doesn't run any diagnostic software. No, however, you can use this to determine is the problem with the computer or with the monitoring circuit, just like I did before with the Commodore PET companion board. You can get external video, so when everything's fixed, you can get some excellent video outside of the unit. But you can use this to determine is the problem on the main board, the motherboard, or is it the monitor, or is it both? So these are available on my GitHub, so take a look. You can download them, and they're free, open source. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is a new board. Let me just grab it. This is my prototype for my signal monitoring board for the Apple II Plus and IIe computers. What this does is it allows us to plug in, so you're basically plugging in a riser card. You plug this into your slot of your Apple II, preferably in slot 7, and then from there you can take your card. Let's plug in. This is a Apple VGA card. So let's say you're doing some troubleshooting. You can plug this in and you want to troubleshoot your card. You can then plug this into plug this into your slot, and now you have access on both sides, this side and the back side, to use your monitor, your multimeter, or your oscilloscope to see what's going on. Now, the other thing with this board is that you can plug in. Oh, wrong cable. 1 second. So you can plug in this cable. It's basically a straight through cable. This plugs in. It has a notch on one end. You just plug it into there, so it's lining up pin 1. And this plugs into your Apple, and then this plugs into your monitoring unit, like that. And when you power up your computer, you'll get the lights on here showing the status of the data lines, the address lines, CPU related lines. You can check your voltages for your +5, -5, +12. You can check the clocks and a small legend here. So for example, Q3 should be 2 megahertz, S7M should be 7 megahertz. And yeah, so this is a prototype board I'm working on. It's not completed. This is the newer boards coming out. Basically, it's the next version of this. However, this one will plug in the back as opposed to having it in the front, because I realized later that if you put it in the front and you're working on it, it's in the way. This way, when it's plugged into the back, you can have the board sitting flat on your desk, and then you can measure everything and check your signals. Again, same similar type of board. Now, I will be making a second board. Now, the second board is very similar to the main board, and what it is okay. Let's see it this way. So you can plug in. Hold on, let me try this. So assuming this is your riser board, you plug in, you then would plug in your adapter cable. So let's plug that in real quick. Oops. And that would go into the slot of your computer. Now the other end has this kind of connector on here. And the reason for that is that you would plug it into your riser, your second riser card. So this is plugged in, this is sticking out of your Apple. And the neat thing with this is then you can now plug in your card. Let's plug it in this way. Now, let's say I'm testing this card. I can plug this in and have it on the bench, and I can easily take my multimeter out and monitor and measure whatever I want on here, and or my oscilloscope. Plus, if I need to solder, desolder things, it's a little easier having it here than having it sitting in your computer with the slot raised up like that. I mean, you can work on it this way, but it's more difficult. With this unit plugged in here, let's see, plug this. Again, this is a work in progress. It's not 100% done, but with this plugged into your computer and this out, you can now then work on your card much easier than having it sitting raised up or in the slot itself. So this is coming in the future, hopefully in the next month or so. It'll be, I'll have a video on it, and there'll be a release on my GitHub. Well, that wraps up this video. Hopefully you enjoyed looking at some of the diagnostics tools that I use. If you're using any of these ones or have additional ones that you use and like, leave a note in the comments, and I'd love to hear them. I'm sure others will too. Big thank you for watching, and the subscribers are fantastic. The channel is growing. Thank you so much, everyone. Big help, and thanks to all my patrons that are scrolling at the top. And look forward to my new board for the Apple II. If you're using Apple II computers and you want to, use some tools to help do monitor and diagnose, take a look for that video coming up very soon, and check out my GitHub page for other things that I'm using. For example, I have ROMs and diagnostic documentation PDFs on my GitHub page, which I'll leave a link down below. So that wraps it up. Thank you so much, and take care.